All right now.
Patrick Mahomes is basically God playing quarterback.
Chiefs Kingdom
Live!
They want it. They wanted it.
And when it's grim, be the Grim Reaper. Go get it.
That's a different tier right there, baby.
Yeah, we're not having a snowball fight.
Three. No one's ever got three. I want back-to-back to back.
The Lombardi Trophy is a red and gold reflection. Touchdown! Kansas City! One of the greatest duos in the history of the National Football League. Patrick Mahomes to Travis Kelce. Let's go! Do it live! You gotta fight for your right to fight!
It'll get handled when it gets handled.
It got handled. Let's go!
Go. Howdy, Chiefs Kingdom. It's Wednesday. It's 8 o'clock. It's Chiefs Kingdom Live. Thank you so much for watching. As always, real quick, before you forget, if you wouldn't mind, please click or tap that like. Please click and tap that subscribe.
It's over there.
Tell a friend, tell a family member, tell some Chiefs fans. Help spread the word. We'd sure appreciate it. We get a good show lined up for y'all tonight. The Kansas City Chiefs are 7-0. Let's go. Last undefeated NFL team. Pick up another win. The old home away from home. Isn't that the term people like to use? In Las Vegas. Beat the Raiders again. Got Pirate games back-to-back coming up. Raiders and Buccaneers. Monday Night Football. Got Tampa Bay coming to town. So a lot of good things going on with the Chiefs right now. They're cruising. They are sitting pretty in the AFC. Before we get into the show, Nick, how you doing tonight, man?
Well, are the Chiefs still undefeated?
Chiefs are still undefeated.
Are they still have the best record in the NFL then?
They do.
Yeah,
I'm doing pretty fucking good. How are you, man?
I'm doing well, man. I'm doing real good. Watching this weather outside here a little bit. The wind is it's getting
Yeah. We might be going over the rainbow with Dorothy and Toto here.
yeah, I don't know. If I disappear off of the broadcast here real quick, that's because maybe the tornado siren's going off or the roof is getting peeled off my house. But Bo, I don't think you're worried about weather tonight like we are up here. How are you doing tonight, man?
Oh, man, we're under tornado watch. So,
hey,
not
well,
quite
that
as
makes
worried, a
sense.
little bit more worried, actually. So I got my mattress ready to go into my tub, right? All
Right.
the TV saying seek shelter.
Yeah.
But other than that, no, doing good. Getting ready for Halloween. Bought shit ton of candy last night, and I've been eating it all day. I'm terrible with my portions and Halloween candy being an adult. I feel like I was deprived as a kid from it for so long that, yeah, I've just been gorging myself with it. But doing good, man. As Nick pointed out, we're undefeated. Loving life right now. Not too much to complain about. Excellent night. How are you doing, sir?
Oh, doing terrific, man. Yeah, I was forgetting you're down there in Oklahoma. That's even more tornado alley than up here. So
Right.
we're under tornado watches and warnings here in the KC area too. So hope everybody that's watching is safe and sound, and maybe someone that's having a little bit of better weather than we are. Looks like Brenda and Big Doug and Laney are in the house. I think I saw
Hey-o.
Kat for Heisman's in here. Good to see you. I think Kevin's in the chat. There's Big Doug right there. Big Doug and Laney, not too far from you, Bo. What's
Nope,
up?
I owe you a text, Big Doug. Sorry, I've been a little preoccupied, but I'm going to circle around with you after this show. I promise.
Right, let's just get right into it. Chiefs, big win. Arrowhead West, home away from home, 27-20, and it wasn't that close over the Las Vegas Raiders. The Chiefs are the only undefeated team left in the NFL, and they got a chance to stretch this thing out. Nick, Chiefs beat the Raiders again. How are you feeling watching that game on Sunday?
So obviously there's the interception that, was taken back all the way to the 3-yard line, but really at no point during that game was I ever worried at all that the Chiefs weren't going to win. I don't know. Just Maybe it's because we were doing like a whole pumpkin carving thing with other families, and I had to be pulled away a couple times for kids stuff. But yeah, no, I got to get my priorities straight, Scotty. But
You need to have a talk with those folks that
Come on, man.
scheduled
It's one
the
night a week.
pumpkin carving thing during the Chiefs game. But that's all right.
they're good friends of ours, man. So it's not that big of a deal. But
Friends
So
don't.
then they should understand that the
don't
Chiefs
let
game's
friends-
on.
Right. Friends don't let friends schedule events during the Chiefs games. But go ahead. I'll
it
stop.
was like a Chiefs party / pumpkin carving, right? But look, I was just watching the game, and it was a relatively stress-free game for me. I'll be honest. It just really felt like the Chiefs defense did their normal thing. They gave up like some points early, but then they really clamped down. Mahomes had a sneaky good game, right? Like he didn't throw for 300 yards, but 260 yards, 71% completion, right? 2 touchdowns, 1 pick, but the pick was more, I think, pressure from the line than Mahomes making a bad throw. So, it was pretty casual watching for me, honestly.
Bo, how'd you feel watching the game?
Yeah, I mean, I echo your sentiments exactly, man. I had people over, so I had to be a little bit more reserved as far as my outbursts and yelling. But, I mean, there was nothing to really yell about. We go down, march, and score right away, right? You're just happy, and you're thinking, all right, now if the defense can get a stop here, perfect start, and I can just socialize with everybody here at the house. Wasn't quite the thing, right? They move the ball on us and score, and Scott and I are talking about defense, and we're just like, oh, man. And then, stuff happens. They get the ball back, and it looks like they're driving down again to go up. And I don't know if it was the Karlaftis punch or who was it that went out? So I can't remember the guy's name that went out right now. Escaping me. One of our players got hurt, but kind of shifted the momentum of the defense. And from then on, they just said, no, we're not doing this anymore. Stuffed every single run they threw at us. Pass coverage was decent, and they really pressured Minshew so well. Defense crushed it out of the park again for me. And they made it really easy watching for me. I didn't feel stressed at all. What about you?
The game starts and the Chiefs come out the gate. They get the ball first. They score a touchdown. Looked easy moving the ball, and you're thinking, man, here we go. This is going to be a blowout here. The defense, I don't know, kind of did what they usually do and give up a score on the first opponent's possession. But they locked it down after that. They gave up a field goal and then really didn't give up much for another basically 2.5 quarters. Dylan's checking in the chat. Good to see you, Dylan. Hope you're doing well. So, yeah, I felt really comfortable. Nick mentioned the interception there, and the Raiders got the ball at the goal line with an opportunity to take the lead. But even then, there was still a lot of game left. So, felt good. Felt like the Chiefs were on easy street, except for maybe a 2-minute stretch there where the Raiders had that ball there with a chance to take the lead. Defense slams the door on them, though, and just has an amazing goal line stand. We'll talk about them here in a little bit. Patrick Mahomes, Nick, you said he looked good. This looked the most comfortable he's been. I know in the end he didn't have the flashy yardage number, but he got the touchdown passes. He was almost at 200 yards going into halftime. I think he had a stretch there where he completed 11 or 12 straight passes. What did you see that you liked out of him? And it's 2 pretty solid performances from Patrick when compared to kind of how he started the season. How excited are you? And do you think maybe the Chiefs are getting some things figured out on offense?
Yeah, I think there was just like a lot of entropy going on at the beginning of the season. They've settled down now. D-Hop being out there, I think, took some pressure off some folks, even though he had a limited role. Dude was open over and over again. I don't know if you saw the people post and stuff. They're like, well, he was open on this play. He's open on this play. So, but he wasn't the primary looks on those plays, right? I get it. It's not just about if you're open or you open when the quarterback's looking your way. But I think you're starting to see the Chiefs come into form here. You're starting to see them say, okay, these are the pieces that we have. Here's what they can do. Kareem Hunt didn't have like a spectacular yards per carry day, but he had a spectacular get positive yards and get the yards that they need when they need him day. And that's exactly what we need out of him. And so I think that you're just seeing this team start to figure out who the players are, who the pieces are, where they fit in. And Patrick's getting more comfortable now. There's still some questions, I think, as far as like at the left tackle position, But other than that, it seems like a unit that's really starting to come together. You know, they're pushing. They didn't quite get to 30 points the last couple of weeks, but they're pushing 30 points the last 2 weeks. Closing out games where, you know, teams are having to think about onside kicks at the end of the game to try to have a chance. I'm really liking what I'm seeing out of the offense.
Yeah, look good. Patrick Mahomes sets the record, fastest player to 30,000 passing yards. It's amazing that he was able to do it, and it was like 6 games fewer than second place. And it's also amazing that he's been playing for that long now. Bo, what did you see out of Patrick, and is he kind of righted the ship here these last couple games in your opinion?
You know, I've never seen. Maybe I'm just too much of a homer and too close to it, but I've never seen the ship veer off course too bad to be worried about it this year. I mean, in every game where it's been close, I've seen him command that game, take it on his own back, whether it's through a scramble or just Mahomes magic, fake pass or over the pass or running out of bounds for the first down. Like, he just has a way to change the game in his favor. He puts it on his back and does it. He does more with less than any other quarterback in this league, right? I mean, all last week, all we heard is, oh, San Francisco doesn't have this player. They don't have that player. They don't have this player. I don't know if you guys are listening to the previews of this game. Oh, the Bucs don't have this receiver. They don't have that receiver. Like, we're in the same boat, man. And it's like, what can you do with the pieces that you have? Like, kind of going on Nick's point. And what he's able to do with this team is amazing. And now we've had 7 weeks of just more practice. Getting in a new weapon like D-Hop has just, you know, it's sharpening that edge of our knife. It's amazing having just one person like D-Hop, what it can do to open up everybody else. We saw Travis Kelce have a career day for this season, finally, right? He finally scored, got in the end zone, largely in part because there's another weapon on the field that knows what he's doing, and it just spreads that field more for Mahomes, and he knows it, man. He hit Kelce when he needed to, he hit D-Hop when he needed to, was spreading it around to Gray, Watson, everybody, man. He just takes command of the game, and no other quarterback's able to do that with as few as weapons as he has, so... Yeah, can't say enough good things about the guy. And I think, he's finding his form perfectly right now with what he has.
Yeah, riding the ship maybe isn't not the right term to use, just by his standards and the performance. You know, the lack of touchdown passes compared to interceptions, although all that's not his fault. He had a touchdown that was dropped that turned into an interception. He's had some tip passes, but, you know, he was the accuracy on some of the passes earlier in the season wasn't quite as crisp as you see out of him. He looked sharp, especially that first half. He was dicing the Raiders up. And like I said, he had a stretch there where he completed 10 or 11 straight passes and was 11 of 12 with a touchdown pass there. You mentioned spreading the ball around, man. Watson had catches. Gray had catches. He was hitting running backs out of the backfield. DeAndre Hopkins had a nice play there. So, yeah, Patrick Mahomes, he's hearing the noise, and he's guided this team to an undefeated record, and stats don't mean everything. So, it's just when you set the bar as high as he has and you put up the eye-popping numbers, it doesn't necessarily look as good maybe in the box score after the game is over. But, I thought his accuracy looked good. His decision-making with the ball looked really, really good. And guys were catching the ball. That is also
that goes a long way.
So he looked really good, looked sharp. I mentioned I thought maybe you were going to have one of these 400-something yard games the way he was going. I think he had 190 yards going into halftime. Chiefs had a lead. We're running the ball and kind of taking care of business there in the third quarter, in the beginning of the fourth quarter. So I don't know if they took the foot off the gas, but they definitely were not trying to necessarily air it out or throw the ball either as much as they were there in the first half. Talking about catching the ball, the new addition, we got to talk about this guy, DeAndre Hopkins. Nick, you mentioned he was open a lot. You know, is he open when they're looking at him? You can post still frame shots on the internet all day long of guys to where they look open. I'm not a film analyst. I don't claim
you don't live
to
in slow-mo world?
Right. I don't claim to know how to look at like an all 22 or a still shot and determine whether or not the guy was actually open or not. But he's getting separation, and that catch he made going to the sideline to keep that drive alive. How many guys have we seen drop that pass on third down the last 2 weeks? Bo, DeAndre Hopkins, I guess you could say a quiet first game, although the guy had less than a week to prepare and learn the offense. How excited are you about his addition, and what did you see out of him? How did he look to you?
You know what's crazy? I was thinking about this today. I was like, man, yeah. I mean, the Rashee Rice news sucked, obviously, and it looks like he's going to be injured a little bit longer. But if that hadn't happened, our team at the end of the season would have been D-Hop, Rashee Rice, Marquise Brown, right? And like, and Xavier Worthy and Travis Kelce. And I'm just like, oh my God, that's our team. But let's not get too ahead of ourselves here. D-Hop, right? I think that's what we said. I think he kind of produced what everybody was kind of expecting. You know, I think he was out there for 20-something snaps, nothing too crazy. Got targeted a couple times. Looked fine. Looks like he hasn't lost a step. Looks like he's got speed, as you were mentioning, man. Like, sure-handed in clutch situations, right? On a huge third down, converts it where most receivers tend to drop that ball. I would expect, going forward that we see a lot more of him. I mean, he had 2 days of practice. I'm pretty sure that's all he got with Mahomes, right? Learning everything. So, I mean, give him another week, give him another 2 weeks. I imagine he's just going to be a seamless receiver with all the plays in his head. So, I would expect him to do, you expect a lot more production out of him next week. More targets, more receptions, maybe a tug. But I'm really liking what I'm seeing. I'm alluded to it earlier. He just opens up the field. He gets other people open, and he's a threat, man. And when you take 1 or 2 guys away in the deep ball, I mean, it opens up everybody we talked about. Gray, Watson, everybody over the middle, right and underneath. So I'm really looking forward to what Andy Reid can draw up for him and what this team's going to do with him.
Yeah, Patrick, when asked about D-Hop, he said something that caught my ear. He said, "He reminded me of Kelce, the way he was like filling in these empty spots in the zones and just knowing where to go to get separation, to get open." That's a scary thought if you are defenses around the NFL, that another version of Travis Kelce out there. Nick, DeAndre Hopkins, you mentioned a little bit about what you saw of his performance and online. How long do you think maybe before you see him have a game like a Travis Kelce had, where you see him catch 9, 10, 11 passes for 100 and a touchdown?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be very long, right? He'd only been with the team 4 or 5 days or something like that. So now he's going to have
a couple practices.
Right. So they're going to look at that film and they're going to say, okay, so he needs to move up to this look here, right? So, I mean, they have a smart offensive staff, and they're going to be coaching Patrick on that. Patrick's going to see it. He said he saw it on the tablet. D-Hop himself commented something on Twitter or X saying, and people said I was cooked when they were showing him getting open. So, I mean, I think you look at the Buccaneers that we've got coming up, they're a bottom 3rd team, like a bottom 5 team, I think, in pass defense. So I'm thinking you're going to be seeing a big performance out of him sooner rather than later. If he can do this after a few days, what's he going to be able to do after 6 weeks, right? What's he going to be doing going into the postseason? Right. And so it's really encouraging to see, that level of talent come into the team, kind of have that innate understanding of how the game works, and doing something that we know Patrick already does well with our other, best pass catcher in Travis Kelce. So.
Yeah, loving the he was opening things up, and the comparison to Travis Kelce is very exciting. If you are a Kansas City Chiefs fan, Kareem Hunt had another solid game. Nick, you mentioned the yards per carry might not be there, but the guy was getting first downs, moving the chains. He gets in the end zone. If you follow us on social media at Chiefs Kingdom Live, we put out there on the X account today, the Chiefs media team put out a primetime Monday night warm-up wallpaper with Kareem Hunt under the lights at Arrowhead. Didn't have that on the bingo card this year, the primetime Kareem Hunt wallpaper drop. Bo, Kareem Hunt that signing is continuing to pay dividends here. How is that guy available, and just how important has he been to come in and fill that gap with Pacheco missing some games?
When the rest of the league hates the moves and they're saying what we're saying, like, how was that guy even there to be called by the Chiefs in the first place, right? You're doing something right, and that's just a true testament to Veach and company. That front office, man, they cease to amaze me what they do every year. It's like just such an unexpected good move that they make. And we're going to get into what they just did on our defense, but they seem to just do that year in, year out. Just perennially pick a great receiver and a great defensive guy to come in and support our team in the perfect way, right? And Kareem Hunt is just one of those just diamonds in the rough, like you found the 4-leaf clover on your first try. Like, what a huge hole to fill. He just came in perfectly, nails it, right? Like, everybody was kind of wondering if we were going to see the Kareem Hunt from old. And like, granted, we haven't seen him break out for like a 60-yard run by any means, but it is so refreshing to like just have him in the backfield and you're like, oh, if they run it here, I'm good with that. But if they do a play action, I'm cool with that too. Like, this is what we needed. A guy who you can really depend on to get 3 or 4 yards per rush ish, like we were pointing out, I didn't really have that capability this game, but still solid, right? When you needed him on third downs or right on that goal line stance, he's just so dependent and trustworthy in that situation that, yeah, I'm so glad that Veach is our manager and making all the moves and other people aren't, because what people say that we should do versus what he does is drastically different. And I'm going to stick with Veach for now.
Yeah, I want to get to Kevin's comment here in a second because that was something I actually wanted to talk about that we wanted to bring up here. But Kareem Hunt, I just mentioned DeAndre Hopkins bringing the element of catching the ball when you throw it to him, especially in a big third down conversion. Kareem Hunt has come in and helped this team right the ship. Hasn't had a fumble or a turnover, which is really was plaguing and hurting the offense early on. I know Patrick Mahomes had another interception. We mentioned that was a fluky tipped pass. But Nick Kareem Hunt bringing the Chiefs offense, dragging them along with him. You're seeing the Chiefs have these longer, sustained drives, controlling time of possession. How big has that addition been? He looks like he's doing better, but also Kevin's kind of bringing up something I thought I've noticed as well. Are the Chiefs leaning on Kareem Hunt a little bit too much here and need to try to find a way to get some other guys some touches and some carries?
Yeah, there's no doubt that they brought him in and they brought him in to use and abuse right away. And I see the same thing. We'll throw the comment up here. Kevin is saying, we should use the Tampa game to give poor Kareem a break. He's getting up slower and slower each game. It definitely looks like he's feeling it. What I'll say that he brings to the game is just no negative plays, right? Like, it's like he always at least seems to get back to the line of scrimmage. Whenever he gets tackled, he seems to be able to just angle his body in a way that he falls forward for a yard, 2 yards. So it's just kind of those, I think, I don't know, instinctive things that he does that really allow him to keep the offense in the best position possible when we're going into a 2nd and 6 instead of a 2nd and 11 or 2nd and 10 because we got stuffed on the first down run. It really opens up the playbook, which takes a lot of pressure off of some of the other facets of the offense. So,
Bo, can Kareem hold up with this kind of usage? He's been on the injury report a couple of weeks with a neck issue or a shoulder injury. He had a hip this last week. Obviously didn't affect his touches, but you think he can hold up with this type of usage until Isaiah Pacheco gets back?
Yeah, sure. I mean, he's a professional athlete. I mean, he's built for this, right? He's used to it. He knows what's ahead of him. I wouldn't mind seeing a little bit of load management, maybe a little bit more cycling of some guys, but as we're pointing out, I mean, he's just a little too reliable to go with anybody else. Everybody else has a little bit of fumble woes or, just they aren't elusive enough to get those extra 2 yards that you need. And so, like, while we wouldn't mind seeing it, I don't see them shifting gears at any point. I can kind of like see them just keep banging on all cylinders with the running game. Why fix something that isn't broke right now? It doesn't. I mean, it looks like he's slower and slower, but I don't know if that's just the defense kind of wising up to the game that like, oh, we have to really pay attention to this guy. He's a formidable force, or if it is him showing his age or anything. But like, I don't see the Chiefs backing off anytime soon, really.
Yeah, I mean, I think the guy can hold up. I haven't seen any. I mean, I know as we saw the Isaiah Pacheco running on the treadmill video was going around last week.
Running, yeah.
I don't know how. I mean, I haven't seen like they expect him to be back by this week, right? I know they said 4 to 6 weeks.
No, I don't think so.
Was the typical thing, so I haven't heard much of that. I would like to see a little bit less usage to save some of the wear and tear on him, not just for when Pacheco gets back, for later in the year and playoff time. But you hit the nail on the head, Bo. You're going to give the ball to Carson Steele, had the fumbling problem. He's a rookie. You're looking at Samaje Perine, who really his effectiveness has been in the pass game and kind of leaking out of the backfield and catching the ball. So right now, they are using him out of need, right, out of necessity. So just got to keep those fingers crossed, man. The injury bug stays away from him. This team's been bitten, obviously, with injuries. I mean, going all the way back to training camp, when you saw guys starting to go down and get banged up, and we were hoping that wasn't a sign of things to come, and then the Rashee Rice injury. So fingers crossed that Kareem Hunt can hold on and be the workhorse here for another few weeks. Once Isaiah Pacheco gets back, you can give that guy a rest and get ready for playoff time. Real quick, Travis Kelce, we talked about him briefly a second ago. Big game for him, biggest game of the year. The guy set a record for receptions against the Oakland/Los Angeles/Las Vegas Raiders, a team that has been around, right? They're one of the original, the OG teams in the AFL and the NFL merger. Travis Kelce owns the Raiders. Are either of you shocked that he came out and had a big game, Bo?
No, man, you called it. If anybody listens to this show last week, you highlighted it perfectly. Like it was prime. It was set up for him, right? It was a defense that gives up a lot of yards and points to tight ends. And then it was against the Raiders, division rival, who they've already been talking some mad shit since the beginning of the season, right? So, I mean, like, no, yeah, these guys hear all that too, and they were wanting to go in and get some vengeance. And Nick was pointing out there's a lot of plays that D-Hop was open, even Kelce's touchdown play where Mahomes kind of forced it to him a little bit for that reason, I feel like. And I don't feel like it was, it was planned. Let me just say that. Like, I feel like he wanted to have Kelce have a game against them just because he knows what it meant. And they do. And a huge testament, again, to D-Hop being out there and drawing some guys away so Kelce could get open. But, yeah, no surprise that TMFK had himself a day. He was ready for it. You could see he was talking about it on his podcast a little bit. You could see the glint in his eyes. Like, he's just like a little bit more reserved than usual. Usually like, all right, now a little bit more like this. And he's like, oh, I want this one bad. And yeah, no surprise here. I was waiting for it. And good call, sir.
Yeah. Rookie tight end for the Raiders, Brock Bowers, is off to a really, really good start. He's leading the league in catches, and he's on pace right now to have 100-something catches, which I believe would be a record for tight end rookie. That maybe have a little bit to do playing the Raiders, and you've got a rookie there, and Travis Kelce's like, I see you. You ain't changing the guard yet. Travis Kelce, Nick, is he taken off maybe, or is it just going to be one of those things where it's his week to have a big game, maybe somebody else's next week?
Well, it was National Tight End Day, right? So
that's a good point.
So they got to get him his, and then look, this isn't anything new. We play the Chargers, we play the Raiders. Travis Kelce just decimates those teams, man. He just has for over a decade now, and he doesn't show any signs of really slowing down in that department. I mean, 10 catches against them, touchdown. I think he was a bigger part of the game plan. I don't know if, preseason talk or anything. I mean, if, what their game plan was, if we're just going to give him a big dose of 87 and 15. But I mean, I like that game plan. I like it against the Raiders. So it was good to see, old Uncle Trav out there getting the ball and having a good day on National Tight End Day.
Yeah, one-man show. Our man Brian is showing up. Good to see you, man. Hope you're doing well. Yeah, that was the last loss for the Kansas City Chiefs, was to the Raiders on Christmas Day. We're getting ready to roll into Halloween in November tomorrow, so getting close to a calendar year since the Chiefs have lost a game.
Oof, holding on to that game is your bragging point.
They're the last team to beat the Chiefs and the last team to lose to the Chiefs.
Yeah, hey, man,
We got both things going for them.
You know, they got both things going for them, and you know that's all they got is that
All they got.
day win. Really, someone pointed out that Andy Reid has more wins in Allegiant Stadium, Arrowhead West, than any Raiders coach now.
Let's go.
Won a Super
man.
Bowl in that stadium. The Chiefs' second home is definitely Las Vegas.
He's tied
man.
with McDaniels, right? Josh McDaniels at like 6.
Right. Josh McDaniels was there for what, 2-3 seasons. So, offense. Lots of guys were performing. Patrick, Travis, Kareem were looking good. We got to get to the defense. Old reliable, old faithful. I don't know what you want to call them, but we got to come up with some sort of sick nickname for this defense. We need to start working on that. The way they played and the way they just, I mean, we've been talking about this every week, like last week, answering the bell against the 49ers when the Chiefs would have a 3-and-out or the fake punt or a turnover. The defense gets a stop, gets a turnover, gets the ball back. They gave up their obligatory opening possession touchdown and then really were stingy after that. The run defense is the story of the defense again this week. Alexander Madison, 14 carries for 15 yards. Big part of a big part of that. Cool. A big part of that 1.125 whatever yards per carry that comes out to was because the guy got nothing at the goal line on 3 straight runs where the Raiders had a chance to take the lead.
Lost yards, yeah.
Nick, I mean, it's running out of things to say about the defense, right? Every week, it's the same story. What are you seeing out of them that you liked particularly against the Raiders?
Well, first of all, my vote is still to call them the Red Death. It's got some Edgar Allan Poe references there, but
I like it.
Yeah, look, they're just playing really good instinctive football. If you watch on those goal line runs, especially Drew Tranquil being able to get off his mark there, get behind the line of scrimmage and really take out the running back's legs, it's huge. I mean, that guy has just been such a phenomenal pickup and a good signing, right? From the Chargers. So, and then just the way that they're stuffing the run with 95 up front. I mean, there were a couple of plays there where Chris Jones was like in the backfield. It seemed like before they were even able to hand the ball off.
Right.
He's
In the
just
huddle.
it's like he must have. I mean, they've got to. It's like they know, right? There's some tells that they're exploiting from some of these teams where they know whether it's a run or a pass. I mean, it's got to be their scouting or whatever. Where they're keyed off, to what's going to happen. I mean, otherwise, I don't know how they're doing it, but it's really impressive when your offense turns the ball over and Patrick combines for a tackle, right, on his own interception to help get them down at the 3-yard line, and they get no points. I mean, they get 0 points. They get the ball at the 3-yard line and they can't score. In fact, the Chiefs ended up getting the ball back further down the field than when they gave it away on the interception because of all the penalties. So, just an incredible job overall from the Chiefs defense, man. You can tell that group is paying attention, but that they really believe, right, in what the message is, and they believe they're the best unit, and they're playing like it right now.
Bo, Chiefs defense, there's been some discussion. They're up there in the conversation as the best defense in the NFL, up there with the Vikings.
So. Yeah.
Are they the best defense in the NFL, in your opinion?
Yeah, man, I think this is the 28th game they've held teams to under 28 points. So, I mean, that's a statistic right there that should say something about this squad. I mean, it was a weird game, right? Because, like, what we saw defensively, like, we saw them struggle early. It looked terrible. We're just like, oh, man, we're going to be in it for a long game. And then, like you said, they just tightened up and said, nah, not anymore. But, we saw a lot of penalties, right? We saw them, like, kind of shoot themselves in the foot, let them, like, get some yards and stuff like that. I saw rookies make rookie mistakes, but I saw veterans come in and be the veterans and be, like, sure-handed. And, like, you actually saw some coaching going on, and then you saw those mistakes kind of eliminated from our rookies. So it was, like, just just phenomenal overall play from the entire 3 layers of defense, from the coverage to the linebackers to the line. Nick already pointed out some star guys, but some people I wanted to point out was George Karlaftis. Like he looked like one of those guys that were getting into the backfield as well, right? But he wasn't by himself. He was pushing the guy in front of him into the backfield, right? So like just the sheer amount of strength that dude has to push like a 350-pound lineman back into the backfield before the running back gets the ball is just amazing. I really feel like the defensive line is going to be unmatched. We just picked up somebody really amazing. We'll talk about him here in a second. Joshua Uche, like he's going to be such a game changer compared to what we have. What we have right now in Karlaftis, Jones, Pennell, Wharton, just power guys. You saw them just bully their front line. They were tossing around like uncles with nephews, just like, no, I'm going to go this way. Sorry, you go that way. I'm going here. Just real fun to watch these guys just dominating in the fashion that they did. And it helped everybody else out. You saw Nick Bolton kind of feed off of that. Like once he saw like George or Chris getting 2 guys on them, he was right there filling those holes and just stuffs holes like nobody I've ever seen. That guy is a huge part of our run defense and a reason why it's so successful. The learning curve that he and Tranquil and Chanel and all the guys that play linebacker had to go through in the first 2 games going against Burrow and Lamar really is helping them out in the long run right now. Cause they're essentially not having to spy a QB anymore, right? So they're just focusing on pass coverage and running until we get to like Josh Allen. Then it's going to be like, okay, now we got to spy a QB for a run. But yeah, defense has gotten easier, I feel like, for them. And so it's just like, man, you had those first 2 games, you come off as successful as they were. Yeah, easy street. And we've just been seeing it. They've been doing so well. Super proud of RD.
Yeah, controlling the line of scrimmage, winning in the trenches, holding the other team's starting running back to 14 carries for 15 yards.
They only had like
NFL
30 yards or something, right? Or something small.
They didn't do much. Zamir White and the other guys they brought in to try and run the ball did not do much. Alexander Madison, no one's going to mistake him for a top 5 or top 10 NFL running back, but the guy is a good NFL running back. He was a backup to Dalvin Cook in Minnesota and stepped in multiple times and had big games for that team. So while he may not be a household name or somebody that you put up there with a Derrick Henry or a Jahmyr Gibbs or Josh Jacobs, he's not nobody that's never done anything in this league either. So coming in, crushing it. Bo, you bring up the stat about the games holding teams to 28 points or less. I believe they can tie the 07 to 09 Baltimore Ravens by holding the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to 28 points or less on Monday night.
Yeah, 17 years.
That's one of the all-time great defenses recognized, right? That's the Ray Lewis, Ed Reed. Just I'm trying to recall what there was a nickname for that defense back in the day. I'm getting old, so my memory ain't what it used to be. But they're in the conversation as not just maybe one of the best defenses or the best defense of this season. They're getting into that all-time great defense.
Right.
Would you guys take this defense and stack up with some of those great defenses of the 90s? Derek Thomas, Neil Smith, Deron Cherry defenses, Nick?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. It was a different game back then, but this team just is locking people down. I mean, they're just look. I don't know that they may not have quite as many of the kind of the big flashy splash plays that defense had, but they're just kind of boring and methodical and just really just snuffing offenses out every week in, week out. We've been seeing it for 2 seasons now. And it's one of the, like you said, one of the better streaks that I've seen in memory, in NFL history out of all the games that I've watched. I mean, have you ever felt, this reliable on defense before in your Chiefs fandom?
I mean, it reminds me of those 90s defenses in the sense like you just mentioned, man. When the offense is struggling or there's a turnover, the other team gets the ball deep in your territory, I feel like I expect the defense to hold them out and at least keep them to 3, if not get a turnover or stop. You mentioned they had 2 possessions that started I want to say right down there inside the 20-yard line, and they got 3 points out of those. You're going to win a lot of games when you do that. Bo, I know back in the day, the 90s thing, you were hadn't quite come over to the Chiefs' kingdom yet, but this defense, one of the better squads in team history.
90s is back in the day, but yeah, for sure. Maybe not quite as smash mouth, right? Not as hard hitting, but like as Nick pointed out, different game, right? You couldn't hit the quarterback as hard, and I don't know. Back then, you could just let the quarterback know that he was just a half second away from getting smoked, right?
Right.
As Kevin's pointing out, there was a lot more takeaways back then, and you definitely heard about the Chiefs. You knew what you were facing when you were facing the Chiefs back then, and I feel like you're getting a lot of that today. I mean, we have the players, we have the personnel on all three phases. I mean, I think at this point, the whole league knows one of our linemen, one of our linebackers, and one of our cover guys are at this point, right? And they're like, hey, this is a team that has their shit together. And so, yeah, I would say they're right up there, man. I mean, you were bringing up the Ravens defense from the early 2000s. I mean, like, it's them, what, the 70s Bears, and like those are like the top two defenses. I'm going to go ahead and like start ranking. I mean, it's still early in the season. We're not even halfway through, so it's hard to say, but they're trending that direction, in my opinion, like towards those, like that kind of pinnacle, those in the conversation with those other two teams.
Yeah, Kevin points out they don't necessarily get the takeaways, right? Trent McDuffie is still without an interception in his career somehow. A lot of that is because teams don't throw the ball at Trent McDuffie wisely. It's smart not to throw the ball to him, to his side of the field or wherever he's playing at. But yeah, these Chiefs defenses to not give up, have one big game where you had a bad game and a team hung. We're not talking about like holding teams to under 35 for 20. We're talking about 28 or less in the modern day NFL.
Yeah.
You see teams get rung up all the time. Good defenses rung up. Everybody's talking about how great the Vikings defense this year. They gave up how many points to the Lions a few weeks ago? 36. I mean, that was a shootout in that game. So really, really impressive. We talked about Chris Jones, the guy. He's in the conversation for defensive player of the year. He is an unstoppable force. And Bo, you mentioned Chiefs defense is getting some help. They bring in Joshua Uche and trade from the Patriots, a guy who had a really, really good year with sacks. He's had a couple of years, though, where, the numbers weren't quite there. With injuries to corner and the secondary on this team, maybe thought the Chiefs would look there. You've also got to find someone, right? You can't make a trade if someone's not willing to trade with you. So they bring the pass rusher in. Charles Omenihu is on the mend and looking like he can be back here fairly soon. Best defensive in the league, getting reinforcements. Nick, how much better can this defense get?
Well, look, I mean, they're not getting any shutouts. So, if we get some shutouts up
be
on
nice.
the board,
Go a long way.
like we could go for
Raise
that.
that bar.
I will say that there were a few third downs, right, that were converted by the Raiders in that game where I think if we had, an edge rusher that was really able to get to the quarterback in those third and long situations, I think that would have helped out tremendously. Not that, we needed a ton of help in that game defensively, but look, more is better, right? I mean, we're stocking up, we're getting ready for a deep playoff push. More than anything, it really just shows that, even though people were kind of giving Brett Veach a hard time when he hadn't made any moves yet, this team is seeking and they're making a push to retain the crown and go for 3 in a row, right? They're going and making a push at history to do something that nobody's ever done. And they're really doing it with smart moves. They're getting premium players for not a lot of costs, which is like even better, right? Because then that sets us up to be competitive for, even years beyond this season.
Yeah, Bo, is this defense going to get better somehow with the additions and guys coming back?
You're on mute, Bo.
I'll get this one day. No, fortunately enough, not this year, but in the years past, the Chiefs have kind of skated by avoiding injuries, and we're really seeing how that can stack up on you real quick this year, right? And
Yeah, for sure.
as the season progresses, we just know that, that's kind of unavoidable, and that's one of those position groups that the more depth you have, the better, man. Especially as you get late in the season. We're already kind of tired talking about how players are feeling kind of tired, and it's only week 7. This should be like their kind of form. We have some older guys on defense that are feeling. I felt that way about them too. But Uche being added onto this line is going to be amazing, because I was bringing up earlier with Chris Jones and Karlaftis just being power guys. Like I'm not, again, criticism, not hate. So anybody out there thinks I'm hating on Chris Jones, that is not the case. Dude's the man.
Why do you hate Chris Jones, bro?
He ain't Chris Jones, but Chris Jones isn't the fastest pass rusher either, right? Like he's a power guy. He's good at stuffing the runs, clogging up, taking 2 or 3 guys and still getting through. Versus Uche, somebody that you can get to the edge and get to that quarterback faster than anybody we have on this team right now. And so I'm really looking forward to that addition. And so, yeah, we can get a hell of a lot better. Getting quarterbacks to have to release the ball that much earlier, disrupting routes and timing that much more. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. You mentioned Omenihu. I think he was saying that he's going to try to come back for the Broncos game, but I think they're saying that that's a little early, but that's 2 weeks. Yeah, we're getting healthy at the right time coming into the final stretch here.
Yeah, get some reinforcements on the way. The best defense, arguably, in the NFL, getting better. Increased pass rush helps the secondary, too. Some of those guys are struggling, rookies. I know Joshua Williams had some bad plays in the penalties, but he also had some nice plays. And he's shown that he can play, right? The guy might not be a Trent McDuffie or like a L'Jarius Sneed from last year, but the guy's not a scrub either. So this defense has been incredible. This stretch they've gone on the last year and a half, 2 years is almost unmatched at this point, or maybe matched by only a couple of the greatest defenses of all time. They get a crack at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers coming into Arrowhead from Monday Night Football. Back-to-back primetime games at Arrowhead. The last Monday night game the last home game was Monday night against the New Orleans Saints, in a game that the Chiefs thoroughly had in control and won. Tampa Bay is a little banged up, but Baker Mayfield, dude leads the NFL in touchdown passes this season. They can be explosive on offense. Nick, how do you feel? How confident are you about the game coming up against Tampa?
Yeah, unfortunately, more confident than we would have been before they sustained a couple of key injuries on offense, losing Godwin and Evans. Nobody wants to see that, but they were a light show on offense, but then they were a shit show on defense. And so now you're going to see what Baker can do with a couple of his receivers down. It happened to the Chiefs too. It just happens in this league, but I really like the way that we look matching up against, their defense. And then, with our defense against their offense going into this game. It's kind of an interesting, revenge game for Patrick, because he's got the old Baker Mayfield, crazy offense game with Texas Tech and was that OU? I think where they combined for some crazy amount of offense, and then the Tampa, Super Bowl. I know it's not the same team anymore in any stretch of the imagination, but it'll always feel good to beat Tampa with Patrick Mahomes, because we lost that one. I'm not going to call it a rematch, Scott. Don't worry. I know you hate that, especially 4 years later. But I think it's going to be a good game, right? Patrick always does well against the NFC. Historically, he has a really great record against NFC teams. I think we're catching him at the right time, and I think they're catching us at the wrong time. So.
Yeah, the Chiefs right now, the way their offense is looking to get better, and Tampa Bay's weakness is the defense, and then the Chiefs' strength on defense matches up well with the Buccaneers' offense, missing some key guys. It's matchup favors in both ways for us. It's prime time. It's Arrowhead. It's going to be wild. It's going to be raucous under the lights. I feel real good about this game. Chiefs are almost a 10-point favorite when this game opened up. So Vegas and the bettors, they really, really like the Chiefs in this game. They should win. I feel really good that they will win. I think that they should and will win by a fairly good margin. Bo, are you as bullish and as confident about the Chiefs in this game as Nick and I are?
Yeah, I mean, there's kind of no reason not to be. I don't want to like overlook them by any means, but man, they're just. I mean, I said at the top of the hour, Mahomes does more with what he has than most quarterbacks in the league, and we're seeing what Baker can do. And last week, they struggled against the Falcons, right, to just kind of hang in there. And I mean, it ended up working well for them, but I mean, we'll just see. They gave up 4 touchdowns to Kirk Cousins, and like 2 of those were to tight ends. So I mean, you were talking about Travis Kelce having himself a day, and if we could expect more out of it, I mean, if anything, it's up against this next game, and if you're going to give that much space and that much air to the passing game and the tight end game, we got something for you. I don't know if you heard of this guy, number 87 on our team. He's pretty good.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm feeling pretty good about this, especially with some additions like we've already mentioned about the defense. I'm really looking forward to see what our defense can do and putting the pressure on Baker. Correct me if I'm wrong, weren't we playing the Browns in Baker Mayfield when Mahomes got hurt and had to get out and Henne came in and successfully went down on a drive against the Browns?
Divisional round of the playoffs, yes, sir.
So another revenge game for Patrick there to get that one back, the one he didn't get to finish.
Right. He didn't play the second half of that game. They were able to hang on with anything is possible. Chiefs legend Chad Henne, the backup quarterback. Yeah, look, the Browns probably got to be having, bring up the Browns, they got to be having some second thoughts or some misgivings about letting that guy go and bringing in Deshaun Watson at this point. That looks like looks like a pretty bad move on their part, but it's the Browns.
Yeah.
Browns gonna Brown. The Chiefs look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have a decent run game. Cade Otton had a big game with Godwin and Mike Evans being down. Tight ends have kind of been I don't know if I want to say the Achilles heel of this Chiefs defense, because I don't know that they've really had an Achilles heel, but if there's an area where the Chiefs defense has struggled the most out of any of them, it's been kind of defending the tight ends. Brock Bowers, we talked about him. He's having a all-time great rookie season for a tight end. He had 5 or 6 catches for 60 yards. They were able to keep him out of the end zone, but he had a productive day. Maybe have a little bit of an issue there, but you'd like to think with Evans and Godwin being out, you could focus a little bit more on a guy like Otton. Get in there and shut that run down. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, their offense has been predicated on the passing game, which we talk about hampered with injuries. Run game has not been spectacular. That's just fitting right in, right? That's playing right into the Chiefs' hands there with the strength of defense and holding all these guys to 1 or 2 or 3 yards per carry. Tampa Bay, what's their record right now? And I'm seeing big Briar man here, one man shows talking about Patrick did have 700 plus yards passing in that game. No, they don't play defense in the Big 12. That's the saying, especially back in those days. So
they're 4-4 right now, Scotty.
4-4 right now.
Yeah, so the 500 team coming into Arrowhead, you're 7-0. You should win this game. Nick, who should we be keeping an eye on? Who do you think has a big game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers?
Well, I said it earlier, so I'm going to go with it. Look for D-Hop to have his first big game as a Chief, man. Let's go.
There you go.
Is he hit that century mark? You get 100 yards or?
Yes.
Oh man, Nick's going bullish on
only bold
predictions
takes
over here.
Week 2.
Only bold takes.
I will bet my entire paycheck from this show on that.
Deal.
Hey man, that Rumble account's up to like 12 or 13 cents, bro. So don't be,
don't be giving away the farm now, Nick.
Don't be giving away the farm. So Nick's going with D-Hop. I'd like to see who everybody in the chat thinks is their player to watch, who they think is going to have a big game. Bo, who balls out against the Buccaneers?
Already been saying it. Tight ends. Let's go for number 87, TMFK,
Oh.
and Noah Gray. Noah Gray's been
Noah Gray's
around. He's
been
been a
good this
man, right? So I wouldn't be surprised if they got him a little tutty in there, right? Give him some love, but I expect our tight end core to do some work this game.
Yeah, I like it. And you guys took D-Hop and Travis, and Patrick Mahomes is almost like a lock, right? I mean, you sit there and say, oh, Patrick Mahomes, they hadn't had the numbers, although the stats this year. I'm going to roll with Patrick. A poor pass defense. He's looking like he's getting into a little bit of a rhythm these last couple weeks and spreading the ball around. And Nick, you mentioned the addition of D-Hop. So I think you see Patrick in that like 350 to 400 yards passing with 3 or 4 touchdowns in this game. I think it's going to be a route. It's going to be on. I think you'd also on defense too see a guy, Chris Jones, maybe come in and have himself a big day as well. You guys want to do some scores for this Tampa Bay game? One of you guys want to go first? Want me to go first?
I'll go first. I got you. I'm going to go 30-20 Chiefs, right? And a lot of that 20 points is coming in fourth quarter like we've seen. The Chiefs have just been dominant in the fourth quarter all year. Nick Wright on First Things First was pointing out that they've led 97 minutes out of 105 in the fourth quarter this season.
Wow.
So I would expect that trend to continue. So yeah, 30-20. Let's go.
Oh shit, Tom Hood sighting.
Yeah, good to see
Hey,
Tom.
what's up, Tom?
Guarantee you Tom's having some better weather than we are right now down there, our man in the Bahamas. Appreciate you checking in, man. Hope all has been well with you. Hope you're enjoying this Chiefs season. Make sure if you're in the chat, you're throwing your score prediction up. Brenda, she's got a 10-point victory as well, 27-17.
Nice. Let's go.
I'm going the first official blowout of the year. Chiefs 33, Tampa Bay Buccaneers 17.
Oh, I was 7. Come on. I was thinking blowout. 17 points?
33. I mean, that's a blowout in the NFL, isn't it? 33 to 17.
All right. Yeah.
That's more than 2 touchdowns. I mean,
it's a significant lead.
All right, I'll go 33-13. All right, Bo, you talked me into it. I'm gonna knock that down a little bit. I think I do think Tampa Bay struggles. And I was gonna say 33-13. I thought, maybe kick a field goal or get a garbage time touchdown. So I'll go 33-13. I'll go 20-point win. Nick, what do you got?
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't think you're going to see a lot of offensive output from the Buccaneers in this game for Bucs fans, but it's good for Chiefs fans. I'm going to pick 28-10. Chiefs roll over the Bucs, man.
Nick's going good. 18-point victory.
Yeah, so I'm not as bullish as you two are, I guess.
Tom's going
a bit more conservative.
You said 30-20. That's probably right. I mean, I've picked a couple
more
blowouts.
points than me, dude.
Yeah, Tom's picking 31. Laney 30-20, stealing Bo. Isn't that what you said, Bo? 30-20?
Yeah, that's what we got.
Laney and Bo got a mind meld going on here, like Patrick and Travis out there thinking the same on the same page. I'm really excited about Patrick comparing D-Hop and the way he plays to Travis Kelce. Man, when I heard that, I was like, did I hear that right? Patrick, that's not a comparison. Patrick's just going to throw around willy-nilly, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's
he
his
hasn't
guy.
before.
That's his guy. So I really like the sound of that. You get D-Hop in this offense, man, and get the playbook down, get some time there, get some chemistry built up in these practices, get a game or two under his belt. We saw what happened once Kareem Hunt was able to get a week or two or so under his belt practices. He's come in and been damn good.
Yeah, I mean, look, the defense can't know what's going to happen on the play if the offensive players don't know what's going to happen on the play, right? So
that's a good point,
right? Unless you employ Tony Romo, Romestradamus out there. How that guy hasn't been hired by a team yet? When he can sit there in the booth and basically tell you what's going to happen on 8 out of 10 plays, how he, I guess, maybe probably makes more money broadcasting.
He's making a lot of money
than he would do working on a staff as an assistant. But
Meh.
We got to get to this NFL talk. I saw
Real
people.
quick. I'm so sorry. Before we get
No,
off the
no,
Chiefs,
jump right in here.
was the lateral a design trick play? Because Nick was calling out last week. He's like, expect to see a trick play against the Raiders. We love to do it. And we saw Kelce get it, lateral it to P. Ryan, almost fumble it, but the fumble ended up kind of helping him get that first
He did
down
fumble.
a
He
little bit,
recovered it. So
yeah. Was it designed though?
Oh yeah, that's a design play. Travis Kelce turned around immediately and tossed the ball to P. Ryan, and that was on. I want to say that was like a third and fairly long, right? Too. So definitely a design play. I don't know. Maybe they're pulling that rabbit out of the hat a little too often now. I don't know if teams are expecting it. It's a risky play, man. As we saw with P. Ryan dropping the lateral, I think definitely designed. And I'd be all right if we didn't see the I'd be all right if we didn't see the lateral for a few weeks or maybe come playoff time. Nick, too much of a good thing with the lateral going on right now, you think?
I just kept doing it and it just kept working. Right?
Yeah. P. Ryan's lucky. That ball bounced back.
Even when it doesn't work, it still works, man. Like, hey,
works.
I'm all about it until it causes a turnover. But Kelce said that because he said it wasn't designed, right? Like, I don't think it's designed, but I think that they do it enough in practice that it's like, dude, as long as you don't screw this up and cause a big problem for our team, like, you can keep doing it. He said as soon as like he saw it hit the ground, he could like feel Big Red in his head, being like, "You're doing that with my jersey on your back."
Well, this jersey says my auto. I don't know about you, but
right.
I need to get on my auto jersey. Well, you could probably get one of those in Chief Shop. You could probably order.
Oh yeah, for sure. I saw some dude on TV wearing one.
Oh, okay, nice. There you go. Yeah. So I mean, this is still on the topic of the Chiefs here, but going into this last week, all the talk was, "Oh, this version of the Ravens is the best team in the NFL, and they're scary, and the Chiefs don't want to play them, and the Chiefs aren't beating this version of the Ravens." And Lamar Jackson's the MVP. They lose to the 1-6 Cleveland Browns, led by Jameis Winston. The Bills had a big game. I mean, who's the next? I mean, are they going to go back to the Bills? Are they going to go back to the well here? And now, the Bills are the team that you don't want to play. I saw Ryan Clark this week saying still that it's the Ravens and that Lamar Jackson's the best player on the planet. It's not even close. He's not in Patrick's league. What is it about? I mean, is it the Chiefs just the winning? Is it Chiefs fatigue? We talk about Chiefs derangement syndrome, CDS setting in with people. Nick, how are these people on TV that get paid to talk about this game for a living saying that the team that's won 13 straight NFL games and back-to-back Super Bowls isn't the best team?
Look, it's been like 625 days almost since there was another team that could say they were NFL champions. And it's been over 300 days, like 310 days since the Chiefs lost a game.
Right.
When you are dealing with that and it is
so rowdy.
It doesn't sound real, right? So when your job is to do what we're doing, but every day and talk about the NFL, like, at a certain point, you just got to kind of start making shit up. And I think that's what they're doing, right? I mean, have there been some cracks that you know, or perceived cracks in what the Chiefs are doing? Okay, yeah, maybe. But no cracks as big as losing to the Browns when, you know, the supposed best player in the world had the ball with multiple tries to win at the end of the game and, you know, and came up with snake eyes, right? So I think that's what it is. I think it's Chiefs fatigue. I think it doesn't make for good TV, right? But, you know, there are some converts in the media, like Rich Eisen. He's like, you're not going to catch me saying anything.
Especially after he picked the Raiders a couple years ago.
Right? Yeah. I mean, Colin Cowherd, he's like, man, you're not going to see me picking against that guy, right? I mean,
right.
Like, so that's what I think it is. I don't know. What do you think, Bo?
But dude, then their co-hosts get on immediately and go like, "Oh, they're gonna lose first game of the postseason," blah blah blah, right? Like just some most ridiculous takes. I mean, that's how you get ratings when you're on ESPN. You got to say some outlandish shit, right? If you're just gonna get on like, Chiefs are gonna win again, guys, it's gonna make for some boring TV. But I just got to say, out of all the weeks for there not to be a locker room rant show on, I mean, the Niners won, the Bills won, and the Browns won. Like, how sweet would that have been? I'm looking at you, boys.
Tony,
let's get this going.
He doesn't do the Bills anymore. He's a Commanders fan.
I thought he was a Chiefs fan. That's last broadcast I saw him in. I thought he was a Chiefs fan. Anyway,
he
can do his own thing.
Public yet, but yeah, he can do his own thing. But yeah, no, according to John V and Nick over at Locker Room Rant, he's a Commanders. He's rocking the Commanders now. So, hey, they look good. Jaden Daniels,
they won too, right? Like again, it still would have been a great show for all those guys.
We'll talk about that here in a minute when we kind of talk NFL news and that wild finish against the Bears. But
no, as far as the Ravens go, though, man, I mean, it's like everybody's talking about. Do you think the Chiefs could beat this version of the Ravens? Like this version of the Ravens that we beat this year?
If the Browns beat them, I think.
Yeah, I do.
But they didn't know how to use Derrick Henry. They didn't know how to hand a running back the ball, and now they do. Oh, what happened to your quarterback that found his form? He's an awesome passer now. You're supposed to run it, right? Well, which one is it? Is Lamar a good passer now, or are you guys running the ball? I don't know. Like it's so contradictory. But
evidently, the Titans didn't know how to run the ball with Derrick Henry in the AFC Championship game either, because it didn't work for them against the Chiefs. Right. So.
Someone online, I can't remember who it was, posted Frank Clark playoff highlights the other day, and it was like watching that sack Ryan Tannehill to go to that first Super Bowl. It's like a lifetime ago, almost. It felt like at this point. And Derrick Henry's 4 or 5 years older than that now. So the Ravens, I mean, they might not even be the best team in their division. The Steelers are in first place. You know, I probably shouldn't point out the fact that we asked if the Steelers were going to be something, bringing in Justin Fields and Russell Wilson before the season started. They're 6-2, and they're in first place in their division ahead of the league favorite Baltimore Ravens. How for real do we think the Steelers are? They went from Fields to Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson looks like he's pretty decent. Making some plays. They're also playing a last place schedule, right? And they've won some close games. So, Nick, Steelers, Chiefs get to play them on Christmas Day. Do you think they hold up, or do they fade down the stretch here?
Look, I think that they'll be a playoff team at this point, right? I just, the math says it with 7 seeds that they're probably going to make the playoffs, but they're like doing what the Chiefs are doing, but they don't have as good of a quarterback and they don't have as good of a head coach. So, they're a good team, but I don't think you're going to see them making a push with either Justin Fields or Russell Wilson at quarterback to go deep in the playoffs.
Bo, what do you think about the Steelers? Are they surprised you, or are they? I mean, there was a couple. What was that? 3 years ago, where they started 10-0 or something like that, and then lost the first playoffs.
Yeah.
So they were the worst 10-0 team ever in NFL history. You think they hold on, or are they going to win that division, or do you think the Ravens catch them? What do you think of the Steelers moving forward?
Well, the Steelers team right now, it certainly makes that Week 17 game a little bit more interesting with the way they're playing right now. But I'm not getting fooled by this Russell Wilson fool's gold. Like, we've seen him come over to Denver, have a good game, and everybody's like, oh, he's the real deal. And then he just sputters out, and you see what he does. Right. There's no reason for him to just like immediately turn that around because he had one good game, right? And usually you see this with every team that has like 2 quarterbacks battling for a spot. Like, one will do that, and they start going with that guy, and then 2 games down the road, everybody's calling for the other guy. Get the other guy in there. Get the other guy in there. So, I mean, we'll see if it lasts. But no, I think this is more of fool's gold than anything. I don't. Nick pointed out that their coaching is a little bit lackluster. They seem to like really freeze up in tight spots, and I think that's really going to come around to bite them in the end when it comes to later on in the season. But hey, I've been wrong before. They look pretty good right now, though.
Yeah, they're winning kind of like the Chiefs, right, with defense and the offense. I'm not saying that their quarterback play, they obviously Justin Fields or Russell Wilson is not Patrick Mahomes, but and I don't think the Steelers defense is as good as the Chiefs defense, but that's been their formula so far. They're off to a better start than I anticipated. I thought maybe getting Justin Fields with Mike Tomlin would improve them. I didn't think that they would be 6-2 and in first place in that division with the season started, and you'd be looking at
with Wilson, right?
Yeah, with Russell Wilson, and you'd be looking at the Bengals and the Browns. Fighting with the Browns for bottom position in the AFC North. We got to talk about this. We had a funny text thread going back and forth between the three of us. If you haven't seen it, go watch the Steelers George Pickens catch where the rule is 2 feet in bounds with control of the ball. He catches the ball going out of the back of the end zone, and he gets 1 foot down twice. But the other foot, the right foot touches twice, but the left foot never touches. I want to know everybody in the chat. We want to hear what the chat has to say about, is 1 foot down twice, is that the same as 2 feet down once? Nick?
I mean, I know what you're going to say, so I kind of want to just be a contrarian.
Do it.
No, I can't do it. No, man, it's 2 feet in bounds, right? It's not 1 foot down. It's not 1 foot down twice. And I mean, you can take that the reductio ad absurdum, right? Where, well, what if they catch it and they decide to hop on 1 foot all the way, through? Well, I guess it technically by the rules they're going to be out of bounds. I don't know. Nobody would ever do that except for Kadarius Toney, who thankfully had 2 feet down first when he went up to the end zone. But I don't think so. Like, if you can get the same foot down twice, like he could have got both feet down. That's the rules, man.
It was the way he was falling, right? He was falling away. He was falling to his right side, so his left foot.
How is this a thing?
I pointed this out in the chat. I've watched football for a long time. I don't think I've ever seen someone get 1 foot down twice. And look, Here's the deal: the catch rules are confusing enough as it is already. We didn't need this to bring the conversation back up. Bo, 1 foot down twice. Should that be a catch?
No, man. Like, how many times have we seen, like, just 1 foot in and like another foot gets drug out or something? No. Shit's already way too confusing. There's so many gray areas as it is that the rules already back up against, and it becomes almost an objective call in some spots anyway, or subjective, that, like, I don't want to make the ref's job any harder. They're already not good at the job as it is, and man, that would just be one more thing. I wish I could just slap the guy who came up with that tweet. You put it out into the world, and it took wildfire. Like, everybody's talking about this, like it should be a thing now. And like,
so here's another iteration of this, right? So you're in the middle of the end zone, and the defender catches the dude's leg, and the guy's hopping on one leg, and the defender walks him out of bounds.
You're getting into too wild of hypotheticals here.
Yeah. That's why it's fun, Scott. Scott's like, I'm not having fun.
Yeah, look, I don't know.
Blood pressure raising from.
I think if you hopped 20 times down the sideline on 1 foot, that would be considered making football moves, turning and running upfield. But
one-legged player enters the league. Does he ever make a catch unless he double taps?
The rule doesn't say you have to get
down on a knee or a butt cheek.
Look, here's the rule. The rule doesn't read you have to get both feet down. It says 2 feet down. Is 1 foot twice 2 feet? It's just, it was so funny that would happen, and just it just kind of points out like how absurd that the catch rules are already.
Right.
Nick, you mentioned we'd be pissed if the Chiefs receiver got 1 foot down twice and they didn't call it. I understand, like, the rule says you got to have 2 feet in bounds, and that's 1 foot, right? Your right foot is 1 foot. It doesn't turn into 2 feet if it touches twice, but it was just a really funny, like.
No, it was definitely one of those weird things in the rules where you're like, oh, Man, I've watched probably thousands of football games at this point and never once in my life seen that happen.
Has anybody in the chat ever seen a guy? I mean, I know for sure I have not seen a guy get 1 foot down twice and then go out of bounds.
So
I mean, is that like because technology's so good we can slow-mo and zoom in so well that we can see that that's happening? I'm
maybe.
sure that's kind of probably happened before at some point, but never made a deal out of like it's being made out of right now.
So that also made me think, right? Just to annoy Scott further, is it a smarter strategy when you're like going out and you're in the corner of the end zone and you see the receiver go up for the ball, that instead of jumping, you should try to catch the dude in the air and just walk him out of bounds?
I mean, look,
I think there's a rule for that already. Like it has to happen with like the natural motion. Like you can't carry a guy out of bounds.
well, it used to be like you couldn't shove they would give it to him. Like if you pushed the guy out, right, forced out, it would still
Force out, yeah, but that was too subjective.
Right. And then they changed it to where like, no, the guy has to get 2 feet down. Look, I mean, if you can be running and trying to cover a guy and then catch him, I mean, you're talking about an average NFL wide receiver weighs what, 190 pounds? I mean, if you could, I don't think it's very realistic to catch a guy and carry him out of bounds after he catches the ball.
All I'm going to say is if they have the catching the guy and carrying him out of bounds rule, but they don't have the what happens if you touch 1 foot down twice rule, like
I don't think there is a rule about catching the guy and carrying him out. I mean, if he doesn't get 2 feet down, it's not a catch. Catching a guy and carrying him out is the same as pushing him out in the air without him touching, right? So I mean, I would assume
that's what I would think.
I'm trying to bring up that play so everybody can see what we're talking about
It
here.
was funny as hell. Like,
So Scott, are you saying that when you're running at full speed next to another professional athlete, it's not that easy just to catch them out of the air right before, right after they touch the ball?
when you see the replay, was that the angle? I don't know. Like there's
JJ Watt asking this. God damn it, JJ.
One. How did he not get the other foot down? All he had to do was bend his knee.
Well, I think the way the defenders is like on him right there, right? Like he's falling to his right and his left foot's higher in the air. So
I would like my leg would break if I tried to do that. Attempt to.
I want to know what
get
everybody.
the same foot down.
I want to know what everybody in the chat. We want to know what you got to think. Should that not is it like not just the rule, but if you get 1 foot down twice, should that be a touchdown? Just throw a yes or a no in the chat.
There it is. There it is. Hey, I'll get it one day.
Want to know what the chat thinks. Should that have been a touchdown? Not like we understand that the rule says that it's not and then it wasn't, but should you get a touchdown if you can get 1 foot down twice instead of 2 feet down once?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, why does an elbow count for 2 feet, but then like 1 foot tapping twice doesn't count? That seems kind of dumb, doesn't it?
I don't know. It's like the forearm elbow, I guess maybe because like you're on
one knee, one butt cheek, right? What they say, one cheek counts as 2 feet.
Yeah. I'm trying to wrap my head around if a player could do that intentionally, or if it was just so fluky with momentum. The way you're pointing out, like the way he's getting hit, like this.
Yeah, it was the way he was running towards the back of the end zone and got hit by the defender and was falling. He was falling to his right, so like the way he was falling, his left foot was higher in the air than his right, and I mean, it was clear as day. He I mean, it didn't look like it like skipped off the ground, right? It looks like he got 1 foot down and it came up and then he stomped it down again. I mean,
because he got it like 5 yards into the end zone. Like he wasn't on the sideline.
Right. Laney's saying no. Still should not be a touchdown. Tom's saying no.
I'm with you guys. No. Yeah, no, not a catch. Sorry.
Unless it happens for the Chiefs, and then it's definitely a touchdown.
Right.
Even then, man, I'd be like, that, no.
All right, here's the deal. If they feel strongly about this, and somebody needs to talk to one of the receivers for the Buffalo Bills and tell them to do it in a playoff game, and then it'll be changed next season.
Then, yeah, rule implementation next game.
Yeah. Being as I've watched football for 30-something years now, and I've never seen that happen before. I don't think it's probably going to happen anytime soon, but you never know. The other kind of big news thing that people were talking about from the NFL this week was the Hail Mary where the Commanders beat the Chicago Bears. Condolences to my good friend Dan Barry, Bears fan.
Just can't buy a break. Can't catch a break.
Did y'all see the Bears defender like taunting
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
the crowd as the play is starting, and then you realize that
Oh man.
they're
Looked bad.
playing, and then he runs over and he's the guy that tips the ball to the guy. I mean, that's just like instant karma, right? Like, look, man, you're gonna taunt the other team while the game and the play is still going on. You're gonna be the guy that tips the ball to.
I
He
bet
would've
that
better
was a
served,
long
and it
walk
would've
out of the
looked-
stadium.
And
It would have
he
been
was-
better served, and it would have looked way cooler if he would have just kept sitting there taunting the fans while the play happened, and then it probably wouldn't have turned out the way it did.
Yeah. What did you guys think? I mean, what do you do if you're the team and you're that guy? You learning lesson? Did the guy get cut? What does the team do? And Bo, I'd like to know what Coach Ron's reaction was. Did you talk to him about the Commanders' Hail Mary beating his Bears?
I mean, more or less, it was just like figures, right? That was his reaction. Just like, of course, it would happen like that. Like such a well-fought game to end like that too, and
Right.
then like nobody really pointed that out until like 2 minutes after the play. Everybody's watching, like, oh, and hey, look at this guy. He wasn't even paying attention, and just
Yeah.
rubbing salt in the wound already, right? Everybody, like all the Bears fans that I know are just like, they didn't have to point that out then. Like they could have waited.
Yeah,
a day.
it wasn't the network, right? It was someone that was at the game that filmed it. The
Right.
guy jawing the crowd, and that's why it came out afterwards. But
But
Yeah, no.
like soon there. But yeah, no, I mean, crazy. That's football though. That's why we watch, right? And I don't know. That's why you hear tip it down, don't tip it back in those situations. I mean, we
knock it down, right? Yeah.
the three of us kind of grew up in Hail Mary era. Like all the quarterbacks we grew up, that was like a thing that we saw regularly. We lived through
all
Aaron
the time.
Rodgers. You know what I mean? That was his MO. You kind of learn what to do and not to do in those situations, not even playing the game. And yeah, you tip it down, not back. And there you go.
Yeah, playing 10 on 11 isn't going to help you in the Hail Mary situation. Nick, what should happen to a player that is taunting the fan base while the play is going on and then tips the ball to the other team to lose the game?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that they're going to be in their film sessions, and they're, I would probably, if it was me, I would just quote one of the great epics of our time, Master Oogway from Kung Fu Panda, and I would just say, one often meets their destiny on the road they take to avoid it. So, yeah, I don't know, dude. That's just bad luck, man. This is bad luck. Like sometimes everything goes bad, right? Like, isn't that what he says in Batman? Like, I just, did you learn your lesson? Yes, sir. All right. Don't ever do that shit again on my football field.
You should be benched minimum and
Yeah.
cut.
No, Scott Smith should fire everybody. He's like,
it
fire the
depends.
whole defensive staff.
It depends on how good of a player you are too, right? I mean, the guy's a starter, and it was like a calamity on his part, a learning lesson for sure. Washington Commanders, what do we think of the Commanders and Jaden Daniels? They got old Eric Bieniemy, right? There's some people talking about, oh, look at their offense now. They got him, and we lose him, and the offense has been slower without him. What do we think about Eric Bieniemy and his impact on that team, and how real are the Commanders? Are they one of these teams that's jumping up playing a last place schedule, or do you think the Commanders are for real, Bo?
No, I think they're for real. I mean, we were talking about this preseason about Jaden Daniels and Caleb Williams and who ultimately is the better quarterback and all this stuff. And I got pretty buzzed this week. I was texting everybody, Chase Daniels. Like, oh yeah, Jaden. Sorry, Jaden. I don't know, just roll off the tongue better. But no, I mean, they look great. I mean, they look like a composed team compared to years past, right? Where you saw a bunch of gaping holes, and that does not appear to be the case. They have some formidable weapons, a QB at the helm, and as you pointed out, a coach that kind of knows what he's doing. He's learned from really great people. I don't think it's the former of them just playing an easy schedule. I think you're seeing a real legit contender here in the Commanders.
Yeah, they're legit in the NFC for sure. They're definitely one of the 3 or 4 best teams, in my opinion. Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams has not been bad by any stretch of the imagination, but I thought Jaden Daniels was a better quarterback in this draft class coming out of LSU. He has been putting up some eye-popping numbers and breaking some records as a rookie starting in the NFL.
What did you think of that match? I mean, that was pretty well fought between the two. It came down to the wire, right?
Yeah, Bears have a winning record. Caleb Williams has been good. I don't know if he's been as advertised, the next Patrick Mahomes, right, that everybody was saying, but he's been good, and starting as a rookie is hard in the NFL. I think those are 2 up-and-coming teams. the Eric Bieniemy factor, I don't know how much credit you want to give him, but he's definitely brought some of that swag and probably brings some of the play design and probably brings a confidence, right?
Bieniemy's with UCLA right now, isn't he?
What's that?
I think Bieniemy's coaching for UCLA
He
right now.
But what I'm saying is like he like kind of like went there, right?
Oh, okay.
And then and so I mean, how much of it is him coming like when he was in there? Nick, what do you think of the Commanders?
Yeah, I mean, there's some sort of curse on that division that the same team can't win it 2 years in a row. It hasn't happened, I think, in like 20 years or something. Right. So it's the Commanders' turn, but Jaden Daniels looks really good. He looks like he's throwing the football really well. He's seen the field really well for a rookie. It's really impressive to see these guys come in, especially to an organization that's really struggled, and to come in and have that kind of success, man. So I think they look really good. I think they're the real deal. They're similar to what you saw with CJ Stroud and the Texans last year, where rookies coming in and just having a really good rookie effort. We'll just see, if he can keep it up, right? There's like the old Chiefs inside joke, wait till they get some tape on him. But I mean, honestly, wait until there's more of a body of evidence to see how he goes. But it's great to see the young man succeed, So they look good. I think they look really good. And coming into that situation, right? It's like it's not the level of the 13-second game because of, I think, the opponent and the situation, but really just not giving up on the drive, getting enough yards that you can get the ball down there, and then not giving up on the play, right? He had to show some escapability on that play to get through the rush. I think he held onto the ball for more than 10 seconds, and then he had 65-ish air yards on the ball. So it showed some grit, needed some luck, but sometimes you need some luck to make it happen. So yeah, kudos, man.
They've got Terry McLaurin too, which helps.
Yeah, sure. Oh, for sure.
A lot.
Top wide receiver, right, in the NFL.
You wanted us to trade for him, didn't you?
I did want them to trade for him last year. I was on that bandwagon to bring him because they were struggling, but there were signs last year that they were figuring out and scoring some points on offense. So, yeah, I think that they are for real. Do I think that they're going to go to the Super Bowl? No, they're battling for that division. Be interesting to see where they go from there. But so it's a new year, and there's looking like maybe a changing of the guard going on in the NFL in some of these divisions with the Lions jumping up and the Commanders jumping up. That AFC South of Texans, they're picking right up where they left off last year. I thought maybe there was a chance that they would, you see teams take that big step forward one year and then maybe take a little bit of a step back before they take 2 steps forward again the following year. Right. But they are playing solid ball, and they're looking good. Only 2 losses on the season, so they're looking like one of the top 2 or 3 teams in the AFC. I mean, right now, Chiefs, Texans. I know the Steelers are sitting there with 2 losses, but Chiefs, Texans look like the 2 best teams in the AFC, right? I mean, you guys agree with that? Disagree with that, Bo?
You're throwing Bills in there?
Yeah, with
Nick,
maybe Bills over the. I don't know, the Texans.
Bills got walloped though a couple times, man. Like they haven't beat a team with a winning record, have they? Did they?
No.
Yeah, so I mean, they just barely beat a shitty Jets team that has been poor.
It's hard to get a real pulse of what the AFC is looking like right now, right? You'll have teams like shit. All you heard about last week was the Ravens, and they lose to the Browns, right?
Yeah.
And like Bills, same thing. You just pointed out, haven't won against a winning team. Houston seems like they lost their spark a little bit. I mean, they still have a winning record, but I think they're coming
6-2, and they're looking pretty good. I mean,
didn't they just?
They're the 2 seed in the AFC right now. I'm pretty sure.
Okay, yeah, yeah, it's hard to say.
Nick, I mean, top 2 AFC teams, or the next best team outside of the Chiefs. Who are you picking?
In the AFC, I know that I shouldn't say the Bills, but I just feel like because of the experience of the quarterback and the head coach together and in the playoffs, I would pick the Bills. I just, until I see them totally implode, right? I just think that, they're and I'm not ready to throw dirt totally over the Bengals yet either. I know that they lost another one to the Eagles and they got beat pretty bad, but I'm not ready to say that their season's over. I mean, in a season where they have, 7 teams, almost half the teams, I mean, they really just, if they can win all but, 2 games, 1 or 2 games, like if they could turn it around, they could still come back. But yeah, I mean, best team, I would say just because of experience, I got to go with the Bills right now.
Yeah, Nick's going Bills. So
who are you going with, Scott? Who would you say is
I think the
Chiefs'
Texans
number one
are.
opponent in the AFC?
I think the Texans. Yeah, I mean, I think it's shaken out to be them. I mean, the Texans they've beaten teams with winning record. The Dolphins last year, right, were the team, and look at the high flying offense, and they hadn't beat anybody with a winning record, and they came into Arrowhead and got their ass whipped in that wild card round. So, I think Texans playing a first place schedule, having a 6-2 record. They're tied there with the Bills and the Steelers. But I think C.J. Stroud is better than Justin Fields or Russell Wilson. Josh Allen is definitely one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL, but their defense has been somewhat suspect, and they've struggled to score points and against good defenses. And now maybe if they rattle off some wins, and they come in here and start beating some winning teams. Maybe I would put them up there, but yeah, right now, I mean, I think it's looking like collision course between the Chiefs and the Texans at Arrowhead.
No Diggs for the Texans. I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's got injury. He had a couple of big games, but really, it was the other guy there. What's his name? He was leading the league in receiving before he got hurt a couple weeks ago.
Oh, season-ending ACL injury.
Yeah, I hadn't heard that. I don't know. That could be the case. I don't know. I haven't heard that.
That's what I just looked up. Says he's going to lose millions of dollars season-ending ACL.
So, well, Nico Collins is the guy I was thinking of. He was the number 1 wide receiver on the team. Stephon Diggs, older. He's past his prime. I would Joe Mixon.
The wrong tab. Sorry.
No, you're good. The addition of Joe Mixon on that team has helped. He's been really, really good at the running back position. And you've seen how that's hurt the Bengals in some of these games. They're building to run the ball and maybe be one-dimensional, having to throw it all the time. It has kind of got them in some bad game script and some bad spots. So, yeah, I'd probably go Texans, second-best team in the AFC right now. So, it's all going to shake out. Chiefs get to play the Bills, the Steelers, and the Texans down the stretch here. 7-0, man. If you could win 2 of those 3, I think you're looking at like a 2-loss season on deck for the Chiefs right now, man.
That's a possibility.
It's looking like it could very easily or 0. I don't want to go. I know.
Here's to hoping, right?
Nick's one of those guys. 4-0. He said 4-0. Let's talk about undefeated season. Look, I'll start talking about it, give it serious consideration. If they get to the Bills game and win that game to go to what that'd be 10-0 at that point, then yes, I will seriously entertain the idea of a undefeated season at that point, because you'd have beaten the Bills on the road. Your 2 hardest games at that point after that would be the Texans, and that game's at home, and the Steelers, which I think is a little bit smoke and mirrors and a product of their schedule as much as the talent on the team. I just don't. When you're going from Justin Fields to Russell Wilson at this point in his career, I just don't see you being on that same level. So we'll see. It's going to shake out. It's been a fun NFL season. Hard to pick games. The Chiefs Kingdom Life Pick'em League is up and down, and Big Doug and Bo are battling back and forth for first place.
I'm 6th now. I'm way behind.
Whoever Casey Johnson is killing it, dude.
Yeah, I mean, a couple weeks ago that was down there. So it's been back and forth, and it's been an interesting year. It's been hard to pick the winners. I mean, I didn't have the Broncos at 5-3 through 8 weeks. Definitely underestimated that team. Again, though, last place schedule, wins some games against bad teams, close. Bo Nix is looking like he's getting a little bit better, but I don't think he's any like top shelf.
Yeah, they're like the Steelers, right? They're like winning games with really good defense.
Yeah, and beating bad teams, right? Beating teams that aren't really all that good in that last place schedule. So looking forward to it. We're getting closer and closer to that 5,000 follower mark on X.
It's right there.
We got the Watson jersey. We're working on. We're slowly creeping towards the 1,000 subscriber mark here on the YouTube channel. Would really, really like to give away this Isaiah Pacheco jersey. So if you know anybody that's a Chiefs fan, copy a link to the channel or the show and send it to them and say, hey, look, you want a chance, 1 in 1,000 chance at a free Isaiah Pacheco jersey. Like Bo said last week, those are pretty good odds. So
Really good odds.
it was really fun. We enjoy, like I said, doing this every week. We're humbled and honored that y'all show up here. It was good to see our man Tom back in here. We got the regulars, our man Bo,
Everybody in the chat. Thank you.
Kevin and Brian and Big Doug and Laney and Brenda. I saw my man Chris Daly snuck in here. I hadn't heard from him in a while. It was good to see him. Hope he's doing well. Maria is always here every week. So make sure to follow us on our social medias. Make sure you're clicking like. Make sure you're clicking subscribe. Help spread the word. Chiefs play Monday night against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at Arrowhead under the lights, prime time. We'll be back next Wednesday to break it down. Let's go, Chiefs.
All right, let's go Chiefs.